Big news. Sephora is now on Uber Eats. So if you find yourself facing a beauty emergency, like needing a last-minute gift, or you're just out of your favorite mascara, again, don't panic. We got you. Order now and get $10 off on Sephora orders of $50 or more on the Uber Eats app. Order now. Offer ends October 30th. One order per customer. Additional terms apply. See app for availability. Delivery fees may apply.
Experience a membership that backs what you're building with American Express Business Platinum. Get 2 times membership rewards points per dollar on eligible purchases in key business categories, as well as on each eligible purchase of $5,000 or more, on up to $2 million in eligible purchases per calendar year. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
Whether your business has 6 floors or 6 employees, Walmart Business has everything you need to save time, money, and hassle. You can restock your break room with bulk ordering or bulk up your ordering team with shared payments. And you can get it all delivered straight to your business's door, whether that's on Wall Street or Main Street. Walmart Business. It's the Walmart you love, now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com.
All right, Matt, we're continuing our October of not talking about the movie or the album Mandatory Fun or Alpocalypse.
Oh, God. We don't even know what we're doing.
Take 2. We're continuing our month of not talking about Alpocalypse by just covering all of the stuff that Al did during like the 4-year break between album releases.
Yeah.
And one of those things was that Al became a regularly occurring guest on Tim and Eric. Awesome show. Good job.
Great job.
Great job. You see how much of a fan I am of the show. I've actually never seen. This is like my first time watching anything from Tim and Eric. So
interesting.
So
wow, I'm so excited to hear what your thoughts on this.
So I had to pull in one of the biggest Tim and Eric fans I know, who has not been on the show for like 2 years now. Chris Fafalios from One Hit Thunder and Punchline. Welcome back, because you are one of the biggest Tim and Eric fans I know.
I can't believe you don't watch Tim and Eric stuff. I mean, awesome show, great job aside, the $1 billion movie, Bedtime Stories is incredible.
Yeah, Bedtime Stories is really underrated.
I mean, Tim's Office Hours podcast, I watch it every week. It is really funny. The freaking On Cinema with
I've
Neil
seen none of it.
Greg Turkington.
I recognize Eric because Eric has like appeared in a lot of like shows that I like Community, but like even looking at Tim, I'm like, oh, that's what Tim looks like when I watched these clips for the first time, because I've heard their names. Now, I will say, watching this episode, not this episode, watching these various clips that I was able to find on YouTube of when Al had been on the show, I was like, okay, this is like Mr. Show meets like a movie that I love, like WNUF Halloween Special, like very like retro 90s nostalgia or like aura with absolute irreverent sketch comedy. Like I'm like, okay, this is probably totally my shit. So I do think that this has inspired me to dive deeper into this, but for the two of you who clearly are Tim and Eric fans, it seems like outside of one, I guess in one episode he played a character named Simon. I couldn't find a clip from that. Mostly Al shows up to play a man called Uncle Muscles. So first of all, tell me about this Simon thing that I couldn't find, and then explain to me the Uncle Muscles lore.
Matt, you did find the Simon thing because you sent an email with all the clips you could find of Weird Al and Tim and Eric. Simon is in the Here She Comes sketch.
Yeah, walking the woman down the aisle.
Yeah. And then his name is Simon in that.
Yes.
So, Matt Milligan, you are a big Tim and Eric guy, right?
I'm a big Tim and Eric guy. I mean, I loved Awesome Show when it came out.
Yeah.
I think now, I mean, now in hindsight, especially looking back on Awesome Show, like that was a very important moment in comedy. It really changed because they were doing this thing that was essentially like making their own public access style show. They grew up loving these. And this is also like, I feel like this is a great example of like early internet meme culture at play too, because they're finding these crazy characters, people doing really oddball, way left of center acting. They find guys like David Liebehart who do like was like busking and just oddball performance artists, put them on camera and let them just do what they do. And then Tim and Eric, of course, guide it through these insane lenses and ideas that they have. And it's this weird like sketch comedy, but with a lot of recurring characters like Jan and Wayne Skyler. I mean, I don't know, some of the people you would have seen, but like they keep bringing back, and Uncle Muscles is one of them, who's played by Weird Al. Matt, I like that you mentioned Mr. Show because Bob Odenkirk is a huge part of how they have a career. Yep. He was like the earliest person to champion Tim and Eric, as far as I understand it, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Matt Milligan, you brought up David Liebehart, who Matt probably doesn't know who David Liebehart is, but my first experience with Tim and Eric was I fell asleep with Adult Swim on, woke up in the middle of the night to a David Liebehart singing with the puppet. And Matt, Tim and Eric would find these people that were like, I guess maybe actors, maybe they had like their resumes somewhere, but they were just the strangest people. And they would become characters on the show, like real
recurring characters with who got fan bases. And like David Liebehart wound up doing tours as a musician and performing artist following this show. I mean, it's a crazy thing. It
kind of sounds a little bit, there's two things that it's striking me. One would obviously be like 90s Howard Stern. You know what I mean? Like 90s Howard Stern found just some of the strangest people in New York, put a microphone in front of them and made them celebrities.
Sure.
But also something that we've discussed already on this show that featured Al, like something like MTV's Oddville. You know what I mean? Where it was like trying to capture that like public access. I mean, that was a public access show that MTV bought and put on MTV. But yeah, that same vein of like, let's just find strange performers and give them 5 minutes on this show to see what happens. But this seems so there's a movie that I feel like nobody has ever seen this movie, but Milligan, you might be one of the few. Have you seen the movie VHS?
I have.
Okay. This reminded me a lot of VHS.
Yes. And that's a great example. That's another thing that I think now there are a lot of younger filmmakers and stuff who are very inspired by this type of thing. This incredibly frantic, kinetic energy, quick cuts. Robot Chicken did do the quick cut thing a little bit before Tim and Eric started on the scene. But what became, I think, like the hallmark of Adult Swim was these like sensory overload. And then Eric Andre would go on to do a version of it like for himself later on, like just like a barrage of content where at the end of an 11-minute episode, you are exhausted by everything you have.
I was
just
exhausted just watching these clips and then still found myself having to Google Casey Tenham just to get
Casey and his brother,
just to get a better understanding of like, because I was like, obviously this is a reoccurring bit. I need to know what is going on here because sometimes he's alive, sometimes it's a tribute to his death. So I did read the entire biography on this fictional character to get more context because I'm like, I feel like I'm definitely missing something here, but I loved that. The Here She Comes thing, that was the first one I watched. I was like, this is kind of funny, but it kept... I was like, I don't know if this is doing it for me, but once we started getting into the weird music videos, I got it.
It's absurdist comedy. And at a certain point, I mean, there's a long lineage of Andy Kaufman. I mean, it's very Andy Kaufman inspired.
It's very Andy Kaufman,
Monty Python, where it's like, some people might call it anti-comedy. I wouldn't call it that necessarily because I thought it was some of the funniest stuff I'd ever seen in my life. And it also made me realize how funny editing could be. Editing is like 90% of what makes this funny. A lot of green screen stuff and just like Matt Milligan just said, fast cuts and it just makes you feel crazy. It makes you feel like you're on drugs when you're watching.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
And a big thing we have to mention too, Tim and Eric spawned the Steve Brule. John C. Reilly was a big part of the success of Tim and Eric Awesome Show, Great Job, because Steve Brule was so popular. He eventually got his own show. It's one of the funniest things ever. And it's just funny that having that Bob Odenkirk, like Matt Milligan said, he championed them. They were Temple University. Tim's from Allentown and Eric is from Philly, and they went to Temple together and they started messing around with the video equipment, started making this stuff. Bob Odenkirk, one way or another, comes across it, and they get offered a show, which was an animated show called Tom Goes to the Mayor, which was on Adult Swim for a few years. And they'd have a lot of celebrity or like minor celebrity guests on it. They'd get people involved. Michael Ian Black, I remember being on there. Mm-hmm. Sarah Silverman was part of Tom Goes to the Mayor at some point. And it's funny because when you watch Tim and Eric, you have all these oddball, strange people, but you also have like, Paul Rudd is on it, or freaking Jeff Goldblum is on it.
Even one of the clips that I sent you guys, and I mean, this dude seems to always be down for a bit, but Josh Groban. You know what I mean? Like Josh Groban just sitting there very sincerely singing these dumb songs like Time Machine and Horse and Buggy. And
Horse and Buggy Ride.
Like it is really brilliant.
Yeah.
Like
just to expand, because I heard this story a while ago and I love it so much. For people who are curious how you like get a foothold in this industry, Bob Odenkirk told a story once about how he found Tim and Eric, and they sent him a DVD in the mail of some of the sketches that they had made. And he said the thing that got his attention was in with the DVD, they put in a bill saying that, like, here's a DVD of what we've been working on. Please send us back $20 for the DVD. Like, they tried to charge him for taking a free DVD. And he just saw that and he was like, that is the funniest thing I've ever seen. No, charging me for you sending me your promo material. And that was the thing that made him watch. So all you need is an angle in. That worked.
I love those types of stories. I think I don't know if I've told it on this show, but I've definitely told it on some podcast. The story of how Steve Martin and Martin Short became really good friends is kind of in that same vein where...
Oh, I don't know that one.
So the story that I heard was that Steve Martin had written Three Amigos, and he knew for certain it was going to be him and Chevy Chase, but he couldn't figure out who would be the third amigo, and he wanted to find like someone who was a little bit more up and coming. And I think Lauren Michaels helped write that movie, and Lauren Michaels was like, you should meet you should meet Martin Short. So he connected the two of them, and Martin Short shows up at Steve Martin's mansion, and Steve Martin gives him this huge tour showing like all the artwork that he bought and stuff like that. And then as soon as the tour was over, Martin Short said, wow, this is really impressive given the types of movies I've seen you in. And Steve Martin just thought that was like the funniest shit for someone to say to someone who is like clearly way more successful than they were.
And offering you a job, that's amazing.
Like he was just like, oh, this might be the funniest man I've ever met. And like they've become like inseparable best friends ever since that moment.
That's amazing.
Bob
I love
Odenkirk really, I mean, underrated how many careers he got jump started, because you could attribute him to Jack Black's success.
Tenacious D 100% is owed to Bob Odenkirk. Tenacious D used to open for Mr. Show when Mr. Show was an on-stage sketch comedy show. That was the origins of Mr. Show, is that it was a stage thing. And Tenacious D would regularly open the night. No, Bob Odenkirk is like unbelievably important in comedy, and his eye for people with inexplicable talents is incredibly sharp. Going back, we were talking about the people on the show. Another big one who did tons and tons of stuff with Tim and Eric was Zach Galifianakis.
Oh yeah,
was all over Awesome Show back in the day. He did tons and tons of work with them.
They did, and then after Awesome Show, they had an anthology series called Bedtime Stories, and I guess you haven't seen that either, huh, Matt?
No, you named a bunch of stuff, and I was like, I have not heard of a single one of these things.
Bedtime Stories is actually, if anyone, for people who are like off-put by the frantic, crazy nature of Awesome Show, Bedtime Stories is essentially a similar sort of weird, insane, oddball comedy thing, but through the lens of like Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's unbelievable, and they're filmed. I think I heard Tim talk about those are on film. They made those on film, and they'll, once again, big name actors in several of the episodes, but is the most outrageous plots you've ever seen. Really all over the place, between episode to episode, between vibe, like
yes, very different, yeah.
But it is so funny, and I went and I've seen Tim and Eric live lots of times. One time, I will say, one brag I have is I saw them play, and John C. Reilly was there as Steve Brule.
Oh man, that's amazing.
It's so crazy to me because Tim and Eric, yes, they're famous in the world of comedy. I consider them celebrities, but
sure,
John C. Reilly is like, I consider him like an A-list celebrity.
Oh, he's an A-list actor for sure. Yeah, no question.
And he was there running through the crowd. I slapped hands with him as he was running through the crowd as Steve. I'm like,
that's so great.
I can't believe he's here.
That's so great.
And, it's very interesting. Tim and Eric, when I saw them the one time, we went and there was I went and saw Tim play. It was where Tim did his like Andrew Dice Clay-ish stand-up routine.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And it was really funny, but he did Q&A beforehand. And I asked him, and Matt, this is why it's so interesting to me that this is like a blind spot for you. I said, hey, do people talk to you a lot about how so many things, especially with the rise of Trumpism and everything, like things in real life feel like a Tim and Eric sketch? I feel like for a decade straight, I said, this just feels so Tim and Eric, like this real life thing that's happening feels like a Tim and Eric sketch. Like, it's just interesting to me, Matt Kelly, that you missed out on this Tim and Eric thing because it's such a big part of pop culture to me.
It's mostly because at this point, two things were happening simultaneously. At this point, I had kind of phased out of the like Adult Swim stuff in general. Like I just wasn't keeping up to date with it. And also, I think Tim and Eric came out at the time that I got my very first apartment, which meant that we couldn't afford any type of cable or anything. So everything was like what discs we could get in the mail from Netflix was like how we were keeping up to date with pop culture in that apartment. So like now I hear people reference it and I see the memes tied to it. And it does feel like this giant blind spot in my like sketch comedy fandom. But let's bring it back to Al for a second because it makes sense that Al is such a big part of this, because I would even say that a lot of this, just from the clips that I saw, feels inspired by some of the stuff on the 80s Al TV moments where it's
UHF.
like UHF. I mean, it's like these fake commercials. It's very, very weird and out there. So I could absolutely see why trying to get Al as a reoccurring character would have been very important to these two guys.
I got to interrupt you real quick. When we're recording this, I think it was last week that Tim hosted a showing in LA of UHF. Like he was the host of this, like,
he introed it and everything. It was days ago.
Days
ago that just happened. Yeah.
And it makes sense that he would do that.
It does make total sense. Yeah. No, it's a perfect fit for him. Like it must be a perfect fit for Al too. This is just a great example. Like, Al in the recurring character, like you just said, Uncle Muscles, which is funny because there's so much crazy costumes and weird design in this, and Uncle Muscles Al is essentially just kind of himself. It looks like he's just
with
sitting
a gravelly voice
on a chair with a slightly more gravelly voice. But in the context of this show, Uncle Muscles is essentially playing almost like a Dr. Demento. That he hosts this show and he is presenting like, oh, I want to show you this amazing act that I have. Casey and his brother. And Casey and his brother are Tim singing, and his brother is Eric, who does not do anything really but stand there and dance while Tim sings in an insane voice and does songs like I Want to Go on a Horse and Buggy Ride And yeah, Uncle Muscles is just very excited to share this with his audience. And I love the fact that he's playing like that type of a guy. Like that's so beautifully full circle. That the nature of Tim and Eric is they are trying to, not unlike Dr. Demento, give a platform to people who are way too off base to get a typical acting job or singing job. You know what I mean? They're way off on the fringes. And Tim and Eric are giving these people a show. And that's what Dr. Demento did on the radio for decades.
Yeah. It's funny.
It's a great connection.
It's funny that even when I was I will say, I've watched Awesome Show in the past 6 months, maybe shown it to my girlfriend. And comedy is always evolving and what you thought was funny 15 or 20 years ago. So, I would say Tim and Eric, back then, I probably thought it was like 80-20 funny to like not that funny. Now it's more of a 50-50 split of like whatever. Even back then, the Uncle Muscles thing with Casey and his brother, I never liked it. It is very off-putting. It's Tim with like Vaseline all over his face and in his hair, like really like spitting up a lot when he's talking. It is really gross out. It's just more like disturbing than it is funny. And I like that. I like, I'll tell you the thing that I always reference, the Andy Kaufman, like the thing he did where people thought something was wrong with their TV and because he just put the thing scrolling in the actual special. So he thought that was funny. And he's probably the only person that thought that was funny. I think that shit is funny.
Yeah.
So, but just watching the Casey and his brother stuff with Uncle Muscles, go ahead and watch it if you haven't before. It's more just like disgusting.
Well, and again, I'm basing this off of just what the Tim and Eric like fandom wiki entry on Casey and his brother says, but I guess the gimmick is also that he has like debilitating stage fright, so he's just sweating up a storm and getting like sick to his stomach while he's singing these like whatever songs. It felt very, I literally, of all the shows in the world that I had to explain this person on, I never thought it would be Christian cringe that I had to explain to my co-host who Wesley Willis was. But it definitely...
Great example of a similar thing. Yeah.
It's definitely giving a like Wesley Willis, Daniel Johnston, like that 90s singer-songwriter who maybe isn't that great of a singer or that great of a musician, but there's such like a pure innocence to it that you can't help but like see it as art when you're like you're listening to it. And I think that's the bit, right? He's doing that type of musician who probably shouldn't be a musician, but you can't help but cheer for them despite it.
The kind of like they are doing two things at once. And this is like goes with Steve Brule as well. They are bringing those real people onto their show while also themselves trying to play characters that embody that same spirit and character. I remember hearing a John C. Reilly interview years ago where he said that Steve Brule was like the most challenging actor, the most challenging character he ever played. Because trying to have that same sort of like, how do you bottle that insane way? Just like the people who came on the show that John C. Reilly saw go on, the actual, people like, again, David Liebehart and these actual like, fringe performance artists, he would watch them do their thing and just be like, oh my God, like, I don't even know how to tap into that because it's so not in our normal world.
Yeah. And I'm sure you know some of these names, Matt Milligan, James Quall, James Quall was one of them. Richard Dunn.
Richard Dunn. Punk Rock Joe. I mean, they had so many like recurring characters, like the people who they would get on the show and bring them back over and over again, like just unbelievable. And then this is where you get to the point of like you're asking yourself the question of like, what does it take to do this? What does it mean to be like a genius at something? Yeah. Because some of these guys are doing things that I don't know if anyone else in the world could do. And it might not be mainstream's popular opinion that it's a good thing, but like who in the world is going to get on screen and do the sort of stuff that these people are doing just with, on command?
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
Finished training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
No one should have to choose between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina is helping to create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters through the Purple Leash Project, so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Looking for a new seasonal anime? Want to know what new anime music is out there? Looking to add a new waifu or husbando to the list? Or are you just looking for a modern or classic anime to add to your plan to watch list? My name is Nick and I run the Waifus and Weeaboos podcast. And you can check me out on Geekscape.net.
Matt, I don't know if you ever saw this, maybe in passing or whatever, and I know me and Matt Milligan know all about it. I forget which oddball guy this was, but think about your dad. What's your dad like? I want to meet that dad.
I want to meet that dad.
You don't know this thing, Matt Kelly?
No.
You don't know I want to meet that
like
dad?
Something right up my alley, though.
That is still funny. It's like one of those.
Still really funny.
It's one of those things we talk about on One Hit Thunder, Matt, where it's like one of those songs where it's like giving you instructions or whatever. But at one point, he's like, "What's your dad like?" And it's that holds up. That is still funny. And I also there's also, we've talked about this before, like how now there seems to be less. I feel like at a certain point in our life, we would argue against there being gatekeepers or being curators. Like we would look at that as a bad thing. I feel like Tim and Eric have really been. They've introduced the world to so many other things, like through their production company. We wouldn't have the Eric Andre show. I believe Nathan For You was
Nathan For You, I saw when I was looking at their credits.
Tim Heidecker's production company absolutely funded Nathan For You and got him a career. It's true.
And then I think there's a direct through line, and as evidenced by Tim has been on several episodes, some of the funniest skits on it too. I Think You Should Leave. Like that's
Tim
another
Robinson.
Direct through line. I don't think there's an I Think You Should Leave today if there's not a Tim and Eric,
100%,
15 or 20 years ago.
And I want to bring it one more time because we are Weird Algorithm, bringing it back to Weird Al. I've mentioned this so many times since it happened, but when you go all the way back to us talking to Paul Scheer and him kind of just saying like there is a direct through line to every aspect of sketch comedy that you love today and how it started with the complete insanity that was the 80s version of Al TV, just doing a type of sketch comedy that nobody had done before. And then you get the Mr. Shows and the Stellas that then leads to the Tim and Eric's, that leads to the, Lonely Island and I Think You Should Leave. Like,
Everything.
As much as he gets credit for being this very clean-cut guy who wrote comedy songs, Al TV really proved, like, his brain for irreverent comedy and, like, micro bits. Like, I think that's what it really... I think the thing you can give the most credit to Al with in those Al TVs is the idea of, like, up until that point, sketch comedy was always like these 5-6 minute sketches and being like, let's do something for 45 seconds and make it the most insane, hilarious 45 seconds that we can possibly produce.
Yeah. I have to tell a very quick story because I just remembered this. I'm so glad I didn't forget. Insane timing. So, like, I just got back. Wheatus just did a 5-show run, like, in the Northeast, and I got home last night. 2 days ago, we were playing a show in Hamden, Connecticut, and we did this run with this sound guy named Bill, who has worked with us on and off for a long time, but he usually just does one-offs. It's rare that we have him out for multiple shows. And I knew we were recording this episode, and I had been sort of, like, preparing and going over some stuff. And we finish our set, and I walk off stage, and I'm kind of like just getting organized off stage. And I swear he played over the PA system as we are walking off stage, Casey and his brother doing Cops and Robbers.
Wow.
And I looked out the car. I'm like, Bill, what are you are you playing Casey? And then he looked at me like, how do you know this song? And it turns out for other music fans in the world, this is kind of a deep pull. Bill also goes out and does front of house for the band Helmet, the old like hardcore band Helmet.
Yeah.
And he was like, the Helmet guys love this shit so much.
Wow.
And he was like, all I ever do is play Casey and his brother for Helmet. Like, it's their favorite thing in the world. And I was like, I am so happy to know that. That makes me, that fills me with joy.
That's so awesome and it is still, look, Matt Kelly, you're kind of blowing my mind that you don't know Tim and Eric. Cause I kind of assumed that anyone like, not anyone, I should say, but like anyone who's cool knows all about Tim and Eric. And it is cool that
I'm just touched that you think I'm cool. So I'm going to take that as the compliment it is.
You're I don't know. You're a comedy nerd like we all are.
Yeah.
And I do want to bring it to Weird Al. The main thought I had is I don't think that there's a single thing that I think is hilariously funny that wouldn't cite Weird Al as an influence. I mean, you said Lonely Island. Those guys are hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Tim Robinson, Eric Andre, Tim and Eric. This is all the stuff I think is the funniest stuff in the world. And I guarantee you all of them are so heavily influenced by Weird Al, who is just the most delightful person. All three
100%.
of us, we should mention all three of us were all at the same Weird Al show.
Yes, we were.
And he was delightful then too.
Yeah.
Like just a great stage performer.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah, you came all the way from Pittsburgh to see Weird Al in Philadelphia because he wasn't coming to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And
what a great time.
I do think that's a credit to him, and he's directly of course entertained us and gave us stuff that we love for all these years, but he's also indirectly influenced everything I think is funny. Like, I'm trying to think of one example of something I think is funny that wouldn't cite Weird Al as an influence on them. I think it all would. It all comes from the same place.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. And, I remember now going back to when this came out, and I was watching these in 2007, is when these episodes aired. And I remember this felt to me at the time, and I still would say now, like a moment where the world, Al had now been around long enough that now he is almost doing this victory lap thing with this new generation of comics who have grown up loving Al. And now they're out there making their own stuff, and they're putting Al in it. And Al gets the chance to flex these other muscles in new ways, too, because he has not been able to do that much. Again, Al TVs, but as the Al TVs have gone on for years and years, they've gotten a little bit smaller. MTV has shrunken in its influence, so he's not able to do what he used to do on MTV or VH1 at the end. And so these other comic voices are coming out and making new oddball stuff and bringing him into the mix. And it just feels like such the validation of all of these years of Al being influential, but not having as much to show for it. I mean, album sales to show for it, but you know what I mean? Like, this is like a new level of respect and appreciation that he's starting to see from a new generation. It's the best.
My favorite thing about that concert we were all at was between the songs, the videos showing all the references to Al in pop culture.
It's
and
amazing.
I was just like, and then I fall asleep to 30 Rock a lot of nights. And then that 30 Rock episode where he's parodying Jenna or whatever came on. I was like, this is amazing that he is such nobody. What percentage of the United States knows who Weird Al is? 98% old, young. I
think it has to be. Yeah, absolutely.
It's
especially because as we at that show, and I kind of forget myself, like him doing like the Captain Underpants theme and the Milo Murphy's Law. Exactly. Yeah, all these things that he does now. He does continue to get himself out there. I'm not paying attention as much to the kids stuff, but yeah, he's still absolutely out there doing it and making an impression.
I mean, that's the thing that's going to be hard when we get past, we're getting near the end of this show as far as what the show is, covering all of the songs. We've only got 2 albums left. But for the last 11 years since Mandatory Fun, Al's been pretty busy. Like, he's been showing up in stuff. He has really carved out a career as a voice actor.
Yeah.
I think almost every Netflix cartoon has had him on as a character somewhere along the line. He's like a semi-reoccurring character on BoJack Horseman, where he voices Mr. Peanut Butter's dad. Like,
the father of Paul F. Tompkins' character. Yeah,
which is also
wonderful.
I will tell just because we mentioned Paul F. Tompkins real quick. There is a Paul F. Tompkins story that I saw Paul F. Tompkins live when he was in Philadelphia, because that's where he's originally from. He was a Philly stand-up comic that like blew up. But he told the story of filming Best Week Ever. And he was like, I was filming Best Week Ever. And he's like, the way that they would do that show is they would just bring all of us in and they would shove us into these like mini offices to record our like thoughts on the things that happened that week. But they weren't like thin walls. So sometimes if someone was too loud, you could hear them. And Al was on the other side of the wall. And he was so loud that it was screwing up my takes. And someone was like, we got to go over there and tell Al he's got to be a little quiet. And I said, I know, Al. Well, I'll take care of this. I'll do it as a bit. He'll love it. And he's like, and I throw open the door and I'm like, Weird! Knock it off. I'm trying to film over here. And Al, like, very kindly is like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be so loud. And he's like, and I go and I start filming my bits, but he's still too loud. So I'm like, I'm going back over there. And I'm like, Weird, what did we tell you? Like, I'm screaming at him. And Al's not laughing. And it's only after the second time that I'm like, I don't know Weird Al. I've never met Weird Al in my life. I think I know Weird Al because I've been a fan of him for like 30 years. And now his first impression of me is this jerk that's screaming at him in the VH1 offices. But that's like, I love that then 10, 15 years after I hear that story, Al voices the father of a Paul F. Tompkins character.
Yeah, wow. That's incredible.
That's another world, the comedy Bang Bang, Scott Aukerman. That's another heavily Weird Al influenced.
Absolutely.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
The musical host on that show for the last season.
Yeah.
We're going to have to talk about that as well. Al, I mean, that's actually really wonderful Al content because every episode is loaded with these little like micro songs that he made to introduce people and do like interstitial walk-on, walk-off music. It's all him with like keyboards and sample pads and stuff. It's so great.
Well, that's what I was going to say too, is as you're talking about like the years go on and like the Al TVs go away, but we're at this last 2 album run where all of these people that grew up loving Al, the Tim and Erics and the Comedy Bang Bang crew, kind of get together to help do these mega promotions for these last 2 albums, where it's like when Alpocalypse and Mandatory Fun came out, there were so many music videos that were made starring all these comics that he loved. There were so many podcast appearances for him
a lot
on
of
these
high-profile
shows.
people really eager to work with him.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, which is awesome. Again, it's awesome to see that just everyone is so everyone embraces Al, and Al is happy to be like, he seems like he's just like, yeah, of course I'll do that. You want me to be Uncle Muscles? No problem. I'll show up and I'll do this thing. That sounds great.
Like Patton Oswalt has a non-speaking lead role in one of the music videos to promote mandatory fun.
He does. And I mean, to bring it back to Tim and Eric, just one more moment here, I would just note, like, the Uncle Muscles thing is so, I think this is a show that is worth watching. If you have not watched Awesome Show, Great Job, I think it is worth.
I'm adding it to my list.
It's both short and also a lot.
Yes.
At the same time. But the Uncle Muscles thing actually has something. Uncle Muscles / Casey and his brother actually has an arc through like multiple seasons of the show, where Al keeps reappearing. Like, it's just a bit that he really likes. And then somewhere, I think in season 2 or season 1, Casey goes missing. And then just his brother is alone up there singing a song, begging his brother to contact him because we misses him. Then it's revealed that Casey actually died in a fire, but then somehow they managed to bring him back to life. And he does a very disturbing song thanking the audience for bringing him back to life while his limbs are falling off. And then there's a final actual fundraiser thing that Uncle Muscles does in, I think, season 3 to help raise it's Richard Dunn needs bones.
Yeah.
So there's a whole fundraiser episode where we're trying to raise donations of bones. Please send us your bones for Richard Dunn because he needs them more than you. And it's just this. It's wonderful how much. This, again, it's like such a weird universe of characters where you can watch a single episode and it'll be this insane experience and you can just enjoy that for what it is. But if you watch the whole thing, you actually get to know a lot of people and characters and very slow moving story arcs and stuff. It's like a whole universe, which...
That's kind of what I was shocked by just watching these individual clips where I was like, oh, there is more serialization to this show than I think I realized there was.
There is a universe, and I... then feel the need to mention the other thing. I've said it on this show before, but my single favorite thing that Tim Heidecker has ever been involved in is On Cinema, which is the most, in my opinion, without any question, it is the most complex and well thought out, comedic universe that anyone has ever made, ever. It has been going on for 15 years now, maybe a little bit longer. And it is for something that's supposed to be a fake movie review show where these two people review movies back and forth each week. The backstory and the subplots of these two guys, Tim Heidecker and Greg Turkington, is beyond all comprehension. There are spin-off series. There are multiple other shows that come around. They do live specials every year. People have gone to jail. There was a 5-hour murder trial included in the show. I mean, it is the most... if you want to start watching it now, it is an unbelievably huge amount of content. That's probably a little intimidating, but I cannot recommend enough. It is the greatest thing ever.
It's absolutely incredible. And Matt Milligan, I got to tell you one more thing I just found out about yesterday. Regarding that. I listened to Tim Heidecker was on Mark Maron. And
I haven't heard it yet. I just saw they did it.
And it's MariansWish.com they're starting to release. It's Tim Heidecker, Greg Turkington, who a lot of people might know as Neil Hamburger. And Mark Proch. Do you know who Mark Proch is?
Oh my God. Of course. Also an On Cinema guy.
Yes.
Mark was, what are people going to know him from? The TV show, What We Do in the Shadows. He had a big role in that. He's the energy Colin Robinson from What We Do in the Shadows. He also had a role in The Office, later seasons of The Office. He was a warehouse guy. Incredibly funny.
What they're doing is releasing, those three have a text message, group chat together that they've had going for 15 years. And
my God.
They're basically just always fucking with Mark. And I seriously was reading a text message thread on there yesterday and laughing out loud by myself because it was all about how Mo it got its name, Mo Howard from the Three Stooges. His great granddaughter wants to meet Mark, and and that they have naked photos of Mo Howard, and they want to know if these are real naked photos of Mo Howard. I'm not doing it justice. You'd have to read it, but it's really funny. And
I'm already so on board. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, again, obviously, I love this episode so much. I am such a huge fan of all this stuff. Obviously, again, Al is sort of tangentially related to this world, but I'm glad we're talking about it. I highly recommend check out Tim and Eric's stuff. Check out just Tim's stuff. All of these people are so influenced by Al and Al's part. It's just the best.
Well,
it's so good.
I would be very interested, Matt, as a challenge to you and any listeners right now who aren't familiar with this. Now, me and Matt Milligan, we can come into $1 billion movie as people who already know what Tim and Eric's all about and kind of get the whole world. But Matt Milligan, could you imagine watching $1 billion movie with no frame of reference?
It was my favorite thing about when that came out, because then just critics had to watch that movie and review it with no context. And all of these like proper movie critics were like, who did this to me? Why would someone make me do this? It was so panned. But yeah, if you know what they do and you know what their world is, it is a incredible treat.
And once again, it's got Will Ferrell's a big part of it.
Jeff Goldblum,
Zach Galifianakis is in it, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of big names are in it, and you're like, if you don't understand the world, you'd be like, why are these people in this movie? It doesn't make sense, but it's incredible.
Incredible.
Well, I do think I'm going to, especially if they're like 10-minute episodes. I saw there's only like 40-something episodes of Tim and Eric.
They're all on Max. They're all on Max.
I think I'm going to add that to my list and just start rocking through those very, very soon.
Yeah, watch and enjoy. Highly recommended for everybody. Again, Al is scattered throughout the whole series, so don't look up what episodes he's in. Just watch them all. You'll be fine.
And Chris, I hope that we're going to get you back on again a little bit later when we have to do. I think we're going to have to split up the Comedy Bang Bang series into like 3 or 4 separate episodes. So maybe you'll come back and talk about Scott Aukerman and that whole side of comedy, which I do have way more experience with. In a couple months.
I would love to talk about people that I have parasocial relationships with, like Tim.
If I remember correctly, one of the episodes is with Al as the musical guest and Nathan Fielder is the other main guest. I'm pretty sure there is a whole thing with Scott Aukerman, Nathan Fielder, Weird Al Yankovic. I mean, what's better than that? Love it.
Incredible worlds colliding.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.